Hi, it's Kristen, and this is my first book haul of 2026. So these are all the books I got in January, February, March, and April of this year. I'm gonna show you 13 books. However, I only bought 2 of these myself. I'm gonna split this slightly into sections and explain like how I came by each of these books. So these first 2 were gifts. So this is like roughly the order I like got things in. So the first book I got this year was The Women by Kristin Hannah. This is one I've heard a lot about, and this was given to my dad by one of his like clients at work, just because they know that he likes books, they know his family is very bookish, and so someone just brought this in and gave it to him, and he said he thought it was something that I would like, so he gave it to me. So this is about a young nursing student, I believe. She joins the like Army Nurse Corps when her brother is shipped out to serve in Vietnam, and so she decides to sort of follow in his path. And that is pretty much all I know about it. I know obviously we have this backdrop of war, and that it is about like female friendships. This will be the first Kristin Hannah I've ever read. I've never read Kristin Hannah before. She's a very popular author, and I've heard like mostly good things about pretty much all of her books, but I do know that occasionally there are some like mixed opinions. But I'm intrigued to read it. So that's the first book. Then the next book was a late Christmas present from my brother, which is Better, Faster, Farther: How Running Changed Everything We Know About Women by Maggie Mertens. This I did ask for Christmas because I have heard Maggie on a podcast I listened to called You're Wrong About, and she and the host Sarah Marshall were talking about women in running and some like controversies with I can't remember the name of her, but there was a woman who like pretended that she won marathon when she didn't actually win. It was a really interesting episode, and listening to Maggie talk was very interesting, and she talked about this book that she had coming out, and ever since I've listened to that podcast I've been meaning to like get my hands on it, but I don't often buy myself like full price hardback, so I was waiting for it to come out in paperback, but I don't know that it is. So when my brother was like, I literally have no idea what to get you for Christmas, what would you like? I was like, this would be good. So this is just about like the history of women running, which if you don't know, I am a runner. I just a couple of weeks ago ran a marathon. I'd never run a marathon before. I've run a couple of half marathons, and I thought my next challenge would be to run a marathon. I did want to read this before I ran the marathon, but I didn't get around to it. But like I'm interested in running and I'm interested in women, and this book just sounded like the like perfect combination of 2 of my interests, women's history and running. So yeah, I'm very excited to get to this. It just talks about like different points in history, so like the contents sort of chapter by chapter. Introduction: women can't run. Chapter 1: but not more than 100 meters. Chapter 2: but only white women. Chapter 3: but not a mile. Chapter 4: but definitely not a marathon. 5: but only if you train like a man. 6: but only real women. And 7: what about the long run? So yeah, I'm really interested to pick this up, and I'm really hoping it's not gonna make me want to run another marathon, because as I ran the marathon I was like, never again. But I fear that I won't hold up to that. These 2 also have like the same colour scheme. That's kind of fun. Next, These are two books I did by myself. One is a pre-order that I like put in November last year. So in my mind, I bought it last year, but it has arrived this year. And that is Tusk Love by Thea Granzon. This is based on Critical Role, which is a D&D online. You can watch these incredible voice actors who are all part of this company just like stream their D&D game. And this has come from campaign 2 that they did a few years ago. And throughout campaign 2 there's like a running joke of a romance book that the characters pick up and read and like reference throughout the whole campaign, called Tusk Love. And they decided to actually have a romance author write this book based on like all the references they've made and the characters they created within their campaign. So yeah, I think like it's a D&D setting that's very fun to me. It's Critical Role related, which I love, and I just like want more like fun fantasy romance to read, and I've heard that this is actually like genuinely good. This is about the daughter of an ambitious merchant, Guinevere, who has a predetermined path: marry into a noble house of the Dwendalian Empire and raise her family station and live quietly as a lordling's obedient wife. But she longs for more passion and adventure. Those distant dreams become a sudden reality when her caravan is beset by bandits, leaving her guard slain and Guinevere stranded alone. Her only chance of survival is to travel alongside Oscar, an aloof half-orc who saved her during the attack. And like that's pretty much all I know about it from the game and from what I've heard of this. But I'm excited to get to this because I want some fun fantasy romance. And this cover is beautiful. Then we have another book I bought, but this one like I got for quite a good deal in a supermarket. It was only £5. I've been waiting for it to come out in paperback, and that is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I would have bought this one anyway because I do like Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I've been waiting for this in paperback because all my other Taylor Jenkins Reids are in paperback. But I've heard such good things and I was very excited about getting it, and then my book club chose it as our April read, so I was like, I need to get my hands on it, and it only came out in paperback 10 days before our meetup. And so my sister saw it in Sainsbury's and picked it up for me, and I was very excited to get to it, and then I had to like immediately read it. So this is set in the 80s and it is about a woman who becomes an astronaut and starts working for NASA, and it's about like her group that she sort of comes up with and becomes an astronaut alongside, and their friendships, and particularly her relationship with another woman and how like important that relationship is to her, but also obviously because it's the 80s they have to keep it quite hidden, and so we've got that historical setting. I really like reading stuff that's like set in or around like space and space travel. I'm like terrified of space but I find it really interesting, and so that combined with the 80s historical setting, which I love, and this like grand sapphic lesbian romance, I thought like what a winning combo for me. So I have read this. It's like the only book in this haul that I've already read, and I loved this one. I'd heard like pretty much all good things, and I sort of thought I'd at least like it because I've liked every Taylor Jenkins Reid that I've read, but I really love this one. It felt so cinematic and had like a great narrative structure to it, and the ending just like made me cry. But this one was great. So I also have that. Then these next set of books were donated to the place I work when we were running a secondhand book sale, just as like a little way to fundraise throughout a week. In March we did it for like World Book Day, the week of that, and at the end of the week, like, we'd been actually given so many books that we had like boxes of them, and obviously some were just like left over, ones that hadn't been bought throughout the week, anything like that. So I've slowly been going through and either like donating them to charity shops near my work, or I've been like selling them on like a World of Books app. Sometimes they're not worth anything, sometimes they are. But this lot here are ones that I am interested in. So I have brought them home instead of giving them to a charity shop, but sort of with the mindset of, if I really like them, I'll keep them. And if they're just all right, or I'm not that fussed about them once I've read them, then I will try and sell them again on the World of Books app, and then donate that money to my work. These didn't sell, so I've taken them in for now. So first up we have Love in Colour by Bolu Babalola, and this is mythical tales from around the world retold. I have another Bolu Babalola on my shelves I've not yet read, but I follow her on social media and I really like her. She seems like a lot of fun, and I've heard good things about like her work generally. This says, whether captured in the passion of love at first sight or realizing that self-love takes precedence over a romantic connection, the characters in Babalola's vibrant stories face up to and navigate this most complex human emotion and try to capture its intangible essence. Bolu takes a step in decolonizing tropes of love and creates new stories inspired by the wildly beautiful and astonishingly diverse tales of romance and desire that already exist in so many communities and cultures. I'm intrigued by this because I've heard good things, but I'm not really a short story girly. So we will see how I get on with this, but I'm excited to have it. I will read it, and like I said, if I don't feel the need to keep it, I will like try and sell it on or donate it elsewhere. So that's the first book. Then someone donated this copy of Babel by R.F. Kuang, which really surprised me that we had this like perfect condition version of it given to us. All I really know about it is that it's like dark academia. I think there's stuff to do with like empire and like history, and don't really know a ton else about it, but I do like R.F. Kuang. I've read Yellowface and The Poppy War by her before, so I'm willing to give this a go. I've heard very mixed things. Either people seem to really like it or really dislike it, so I'm interested to see where I fall on that. But yeah, this is like a lovely copy, so I'm definitely thinking that if I don't like it and like I'm happy to get rid of it, that I might be able to like sell this on. Then we have Pachinko by Min Ji Lee. This, I think, is like a generational tale of this family spanning like 3 or 4 generations. I believe we are based in Korea and then we go to Japan, and it's just this like really big, yeah, generational story of this family and their relationships, etc. I honestly don't know much more than that about it, but I've heard like such good things. But I feel like this could be quite a heavy one to get through, so I need to find the right kind of time to read this. But I'm excited about that. Then we have a tiny little novella, The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. Gillian Flynn is the author of Gone Girl, which I read years ago and really liked. It was like one of the first like adult thrillery kind of books that I read, and I loved it. This one is about a young woman making a living faking it as a cut price psychic, with some illegal softcore sex work on the side. She makes a decent wage, mostly by telling people what they want to hear, but then she meets Susan Burke. Susan moved to the city 1 year ago with her husband and 15-year-old stepson. They live in a Victorian house called Carter Hook Manor. Susan has become convinced that some malevolent spirit is inhabiting their home, and the young woman doesn't believe in exorcism or the supernatural. However, when she enters the house for the first time, she begins to feel it too, as if the very house is watching her, waiting, biding its time. I love a sort of haunted house gothic setting narrative. So I'm intrigued by this one and what it can do in such a short time. So I took that one because I thought it sounded interesting. And then one that my friend gave me to go towards the book sale is Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This one I took home because I've previously read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia and I liked that, so I thought I'd try some more of her writing. This one is set in Mexico in the 1970s. I believe our main character's next door neighbour goes missing, like disappears under mysterious circumstances, and so the main character gets pulled into like searching for her. Love a sort of 70s, 80s setting. I like a, you know, murder mystery or like disappearance mystery, so this sounds intriguing. And yeah, I think it'll just be like, not necessarily a light read, but like a fun read. Next up we have The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. This is from the Thursday Murder Club series. This, I think, is book number 4. I do not own book number 3. I own books 1 and 2 and I've read them. They were just all right. I don't quite get the hype for the Thursday Murder Club, but I bought book 1 in a charity shop for like £1, and then book 2 was given to my sister by her friend, but my sister didn't want it because she doesn't own or hasn't read book 1, and so it was like, do you want it? And I was like, I guess so, because like they were light, entertaining enough, like really easy to read mysteries, which sometimes I want that as like a TBR option, even if I know I'm only going to give the book like 3 stars, because I think I read both of them at points where I was ill, and they have like short chapters that very like easily written, very readable, and so they're like the perfect book to read when I want to be reading, but I like can't concentrate too much. Like I don't have a lot of like attention span or like mental bandwidth at the time. They're really good books to read then for me. So I took the second one off my sister's hands. I don't own the third one, but when this fourth one came into my like possession, I was like, let me take it just in case, because I always see these books in like charity shops and stuff. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I could get the third one very cheaply, quite easily. And so like, if I get the third one, then I also have the fourth one. And the Thursday Murder Club series is just about this group of old people who live in this like, it's not a care home because there are like different buildings. It's like a community for like retired people and elderly people, and they have a murder club and decide to investigate like cold cases as a hobby, and then someone like dies on the property, and so they decide to get involved and like try and solve this murder themselves present day while it's happening, and hijinks ensue. It's all right. It's very popular, lots of people love it. I think it's entertaining enough. Then someone else donated We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. This again is like perfect condition. this is his other series that he's started, still about solving murders. This is about like an older retired man who is just sort of like living his life, enjoying his retirement, is maybe like a former detective or former police officer. It says he does the odd bit of investigation work, but that's like not his business anymore. But then his daughter-in-law is a private security officer, and she gets pulled into this like mystery murder scenario, and so she goes to her father-in-law for some help, and they investigate and I guess try and solve this murder together. So it's another murder mystery from Richard Osman, so I'm assuming it's going to be like, again, fairly readable, similar vibes to Thursday Murder Club, but with just a slightly different character setup. But again, I'm just like, maybe I'll like it more than Thursday Murder Club, maybe I won't, maybe it will just be the same. But Richard Osman, an entertaining enough mystery writer. So then we have Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir about a young woman who, kept out of school, goes on to earn a PhD from the University of Cambridge. This is a universal coming-of-age story that gets to the heart of what an education is and what it offers. That's like all I know about this, really, but I've heard really good things, and people just saying this is a genuinely like very well written, interesting memoir. And I do occasionally like to read a memoir, and this one does sound interesting to me. I'm interested to see like what happened in this woman's life and how she went from being like homeschooled, if even that, or just kept out of school, to getting a PhD from Cambridge. It's very impressive. And yeah, I've like just heard such good things about it as a memoir that I'm intrigued to see what the big deal is, like, I guess. So when it was donated to my work, I was like, I think I'll try that out. And then lastly, we have Someone at a Distance by Dorothy Whipple. Now this is a Persephone Books copy, and Persephone Books take, I think, books by women that were published years ago and then went like out of print, and they republish them, reprint them. And so I was very intrigued when someone donated a Persephone book to us. This was originally written in the 50s and then was republished by Persephone Books in the late 90s. So this is about a young French woman engaged as a companion to an elderly lady who ruthlessly sets out to seduce the son of her employer and take him away from his wife. That sounds intriguing. I love a bit of drama. So this, I'm like wondering what on earth happens in here that it's so chunky. But I do love books that center around like family, like messy family dramas and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought this could be fun, and again, it's just like a really nice copy, so I'm sure I'll be able to like sell it on if I don't want to keep it. But that is it. Those are all the books I got. 13 books, of which I bought 2. So it's a lot of books to add to my TBR, but I've not spent a ton of money. And I think I've done really well so far this year because, I've only bought 2 books, and those, like one of those I'd sort of mentally bought last year because it was a pre-order. So I've gone like 4 months taking in 13 books but not buying a ton of books, which is good for my bank account. And also I've like unhauled books, so I have made a little bit of space. So we will see how I get on with these books. I've already read one of them, so that's a great start to things. But that is it. Those are all the books I've got in the first third of the year. I'd initially set out to like make a book haul video each like quarter of the year, but I went the first few months not really taking any books in particularly, like just 2 or 3, so stretched it out to 4 months. So let's see how many I get in the next few months, which will then inform whether I make a book haul every third of the year instead of every quarter. So yes, that is it for now, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!